failed. I have proof of that in 2006.
How are we going to create jobs in this country? Go.
I already have 2 of my own self-employed businesses and I'm looking to start a 3rd one, but I feel like it's just not enough. And one of my best friends hasn't worked in 2 years and he's been looking for a job everywhere that he can, and it really disheartens me because I feel like my little business isn't enough. And like you said a minute ago, all the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Do you know that what we call the entrepreneurial rate, the entrepreneur rate in this country, which is basically people starting new businesses, is at a 40-year low. How sad is that? Because America's always been the country where it's the easiest to start a new business. You get a great idea, you raise a little bit of money, you work in your basement, the idea takes off, you hire your brother, you hire 10 more people, and away you go.
You've already been closed down because you didn't get the license and the regulations, you didn't get your proper federal identification numbers, and you are sunk.
That's right.
So the ability to start a new business in this country has gotten dramatically worse. 40-year low. How sad is that? What else though? How do you create jobs?
Tax every job that's been sent overseas. You call your credit card, you're talking to somebody in China or India or South America.
Okay, now it's an interesting thought, but now you're with the government now. How are you going to do that?
We got to cut taxes on business.
True.
Go back to the Reagan years where we had tax credits.
It has to be tax advantageous to stay in the country than to leave the country.
Right. Start in this.
See what he said?
Yes.
See what he said? It's got to be tax advantageous to keep a company here than going abroad. What were you going to say, sir?
Reduce that corporate tax rate and tell these companies we're not playing anymore. Bring the corporations back here to the United States of America, and we're not playing.
Okay, let me stop you there. Let me take the first part, because I think we'd agree to that. Right now, we have the highest corporate tax rate in the industrial world. We need to cut it, because we're at a competitive disadvantage.
Right. Right.
The second part of your thought is, then you want the government to force what?
Well, I do think that if we reduce the corporate tax rate, the employees of the corporations will begin to pay tax. So there won't be a loss there. That'll be a wash.
Let me back up. Let me ask this. Let me ask a broader question. Who creates jobs in this country? Who does?
Not Obama.
Keep your answers respectful. That looks like a great sandwich.
You have the same one.
Okay, I'll eat it tomorrow.
People.
Who creates jobs? Small business. Who said people? What kind of people?
Regular
People.
Anybody.
Yeah.
If I hire somebody to mow my lawn, I've created a job.
That's right.
Who? Steve.
73% are small business.
So small business owners themselves create about 73% of the jobs in this country. Is there anybody in here that believes government creates jobs?
Yeah, they make
Yeah, bureaucracies create jobs for themselves.
They have great agencies and
They create more
bureaucracies.
government jobs.
Okay, so if most of us believe that you and other small business owners in this country create jobs, then don't we want our government making it as easy as possible for those companies to create jobs?
Yes. Yes.
I think a really relevant question would be, who creates wealth? That's what's important.
Yes.
Government can't create wealth. People create wealth. And the government feeds off the wealth that's created by the individual.
Let me say something. You've heard me say this a bunch of times, and now everybody candidates saying it. I really truly believe this election is the most important election in this country's history. Okay? But you want to know something that's wonderful? It's also the easiest election I can remember in years. If anybody in this room is confused about how to vote this year, you need help.
Yeah.
Nobody should be confused.
That's right.
One point of info, and then I'll come to you. When we all chuckled a few months ago when President Obama said, you didn't build that. You didn't build this restaurant. You didn't build that napkin. You didn't build that fork. You didn't build that spoon. You didn't build that roll. Now I have to eat it. Don't I? And I'm trying to lay off the carbs. That's my roll. I built that roll. When President Obama said that, we all chuckled. But I didn't chuckle. And I just said, yeah, that's what he believes. And you know what, folks? Tammy Duckworth believes it. There are a lot of your politicians believe that. A lot of your politicians believe that that thing in Washington creates jobs. It's what drove President Obama to do what he did. Be honest. He came into office with a big mess on his desk. He didn't create the mess, but he had to figure out how to fix the mess. And because he believed Washington creates jobs, he borrowed $1 trillion from government, from us, to try to stimulate the economy. Because he thought that's where it comes from. Now, I know a president in my lifetime who came into office with a big mess on his desk, a guy named Ronald Reagan, who believed the exact opposite. He said, now wait a minute, it's those businesses in Lombard and Elk Grove and Schaumburg, they're the ones who create jobs, so I think what I'm going to do with this mess, I'm going to get government out of their hair. I'm going to cut their taxes. I'm going to cut regulations. I'm going to unleash the energy in America. And the energy in America is small business owners. And when you compare Reagan's recovery to, I don't even want to call this a recovery. There's no comparison. But it's not surprising. So don't be confused. If you like where President Obama has taken this country, I'll raise my hand. You cannot vote for me. Please don't. Vote for Tammy Duckworth.
Oh, geez, don't get that.
If the direction this president is taking this country scares you, then you got to vote for Mitt Romney. You got to vote for Joe Walsh. These are two, but nobody should be confused. These are two very different viewpoints. If you send me to Washington, I am going to cut your taxes. I want to simplify the tax code. I want to repeal Obamacare. I want us drilling for oil outside this window. Hey, Tammy Duckworth, she's filming me. I'm exaggerating. Not literally out the window. I want to unleash America and grow this great economy. Right now, our economy is like Gulliver. We're like a big giant that's laying down because we're tied down by taxes and regulations. This president and unfortunately right now in Washington, the Democrats are just tying us up. That's the small business man or woman right now. They're just tying up. We're dying. But it's not surprising because this is what he believes. Sometimes I wish you could inject your politicians with truth serum. By the way, you don't need to do that to me. That's my fatal flaw. I'll just tell you what I believe. But if we had President Obama here right now, and we made him tell us the truth, this is what he'd tell you. He'd say, yeah, you're right, Congressman Walsh. I want a big government. I want my government taking over the healthcare system. That's what I want. I want my government regulating business. That's what I want. And yes, Congressman Walsh, I don't want us drilling for oil. Every Democrat in Washington knows this president doesn't want us drilling for oil. My gosh, if you're just going to vote on one issue, vote on that. If you vote for Romney and Walsh, we are going to open up drilling like you wouldn't believe. And you talk about creating jobs, that's just the start.
Hey, if Obama could make our cars run on wind.
You know what? I'd carry this roll around with me every day of my life if that were the case. Yes, ma'am.
Is it going to be possible to get rid of baseline budgeting?
Yes, depending on the makeup. I mean, we voted in the House last year to get rid of it, but again, that's not going to go anywhere in the Senate. What you've got right now, guys, with all of these issues is you got two big different visions of America. You should hear. We know what they are now, right? Okay. Well, my vision doesn't control Washington. Right now, the Republicans only control the House. The Democrats control the Senate, and there's a Democrat in the White House. Why do I always do that? There's a Democrat in the White House. So this November 6th, the country's got to decide which vision of America do they want.
It's simple.
And from your mouth to God's ears, it should be simple. Go.
Socialism, capitalism. Which one do you want?
Well, here's how I put it. I mean, you're right. But when you say socialism, half the country may think. Like when other people say President Obama believes in socialism, there are a lot of young people out there that think he's just a really social guy.
I'm old enough to know.
You are. But the problem is, hold on. I don't think any of us help each other when we get into labels. So as I talk, I just tend to tell people, look, we got a lot of problems in this country. President Obama and Tammy Duckworth and the Democrats, they believe in big government to solve all these problems. Joe Walsh believes in freedom. You pick your poison. You either pick a free country or you pick a country like Greece and the rest of Europe that will be controlled by big government.
And Greece is not doing so good that way.
Neither is Italy and France either.
What else, guys? I'm getting this sign from Katie. Katie, how much time?
10 minutes.
We have 64 minutes. How much time left? 10 minutes.
Hey, Joe, my daughter went to job corps for a couple of years, and they're teaching the kids at job corps that socialism is better than you know, the way we run things, you know. They're teaching the kids that. I couldn't believe it.
Here's what's very sad about.
That wasn't sad, it was scary.
Oh, let me tell you what's sad. Here's what's sad and scary. Danica Patrick, the female race car driver, right? I think she's I don't want to. I think she's about 27 or 8 years old. Last year or earlier this year, when we were going through the controversy of the HHS ruling, remember, which part of Obamacare, which mandated that religious institutions had to pay for products like contraceptives and abortion pills that go against their very faith. As part of Obamacare, they had to provide for and subsidize those products. A big issue about religious freedom. They asked Danica Patrick, a 26 or 7 or 8 year old race car driver, what she thought about this issue, and her exact quote was, "Oh, the government's supposed to decide things like that."
Oh, that's
No, hold on. But what's sad about that answer is, it's not her fault. Guys, this is not her fault. And I'm not picking on her. I'm picking on all of us. We as Americans, too many of us, have been trained to look toward government now to take care of us or to deal with that issue. Now look, maybe it's because I taught American government, and when I'm done with politics, I'm going to go back and teach. This country, this great good country, wasn't founded that long ago. And that idea that we look toward government to do all this would make our founders roll over in their graves. This country was founded upon freedom. Can you indulge me for 1 minute? How about that? Katie, 1 more minute.
1 minute.
You want to really go to bed tonight knowing what the fight is? Here's the fight. And by the way, it's a fight. This country, I believe, Taylor, whether you like it or not, this country is going through a second revolution. And what I mean by that is we're having a debate and a fight about what it means to be America. And I'll spell it out for you real easily. This country was founded upon this notion. And by the way, in history, everybody, it's the only country in the history of the world that was founded upon an idea. Never been done anywhere else. The idea was freedom. It's not more complicated than that. Our founders believed you lived in a country where you made $1. Our founders believed that was your money. Now, even our founders believed in a little bit of government to do a few basic things. So let's say you get to keep 91 cents of that dollar. And the rest goes to government to support a few basic things. Protect my borders, defend us, keep my streets safe, whatever. We could think of a few. But because it's your money, the fruits of your labor, you get to keep about 91 cents of it. You're free. But then you know what the bargain is? You're also responsible for your own life. So now, because you get to keep more of your own money and you are free to live your lives, you are responsible for your family.
I'll take it.
You are responsible for your parents as they get old. You are responsible for starting a business if you want. You are responsible for going out and shopping for your own health care. That is the only original American dream. That is the American dream. I am free to live my life. I'm free to keep what I make, and I'm responsible for my life. Fast forward a couple hundred years, look at the America we live in now. That dollar he makes, and I know this for a fact.